Welcome back, guys. I talked about the relationship between anxiety and mental health in the previous clip, in the previous video. Now, in today's episode, I want to discuss some big things, as a matter of fact, that make everyone anxious in 2026. So, we want to be more specific here. So based on various reports and surveys, these are some common ones. The first one, I think it's probably the most important one, and it's kind of interconnected with the rest of these factors we're going to be talking about that cause major anxiety in people, and that's economic instability. So there's already expected to be a rise in unemployment and taxes through the end of 2026. This isn't surprising. We're constantly updated about this on the news, social media, right? And closely related is the fact that inflation and costs are continuing to rise. There's no evidence of them slowing down or reversing. And the national debt in the US, at least, is nearing $40 trillion, which is absurd. I'm not sure what's going to happen in the end if this continues to go on like this. And many people believe that we're already in a recession. It's just that we haven't reached the bottom of this recession yet. We're just kind of in the process of this recession. And this makes it difficult to keep up with all the expenses. There's an affordability crisis where many Americans can't afford homes in general. And they can't afford, believe it or not, over 75% of the homes that are currently available in the market because it's just unaffordable for the typical household, for the typical family, which is really sad to say. And some 50% of people here have cut back on wellness spending. So this, namely, like anything related to therapy, right? Getting help of some kind, as well as something related to physical issues like gym memberships in this case. And that's just due to the cost. They think it's unaffordable, it's too expensive, so I'm not going to bother. And just under 50%, approximately 47% of people, they worry that they won't be able to afford healthcare. And I understand, like in the rest of the world, healthcare might not be an issue. It's like I know in some societies, the government provides that for free or at least covers a significant amount of it. But in the US, it's not like that. Healthcare, this is stupid to say, it is a privilege. It's just a privilege. It's not a right. It's not a human right. And that's really sad and pathetic. I don't know what else I could say. We have people who die from diabetes each and every single year because they can't afford insulin medication. Another major factor besides economic worries that makes people anxious in 2026 is just this rise in artificial intelligence, this development related to AI. So, AKA the great disruptor. It's just disrupting our lives in different ways. And what ways are those, right? So, this used to be a future risk like a few years back. We thought it's like, oh, a risk in the near future. It's just something to think about, something to consider. But now it's an immediate psychological stressor. It's something that's impacting our lives right now, during this moment. So, and in two major ways. One, it's affecting us when it comes to job displacement. So, a lot of fields are already feeling the heat, like administration, customer service related jobs, data entry, and some 50% of tasks are already automated in some fields. And some 50% of employees, they fear that one day they could lose their jobs due to AI. And they think that this could happen, they could be replaced within the next 3 years. But when I speak to friends and family, some of them feel like they could lose their jobs at any minute, any second, to be honest. Like that's how bad the fear really is. And, integrity is compromised. That's the other issue. So it doesn't matter what's right and wrong because we have all these deep fakes and bots that are just spamming useless information, sometimes malicious content. And so there's this kind of, huge spread of fake news, misinformation, disinformation, and whatnot. And people, they can't tell fact from fiction anymore. They don't know what's true and, what's real and what's not. A third major problem has to do with like societal polarization. Just people are divided. So think like identity politics. That might be a term you're somewhat familiar with. So there's this kind of like deep political and cultural divide in the US. And this rift is causing this kind of black and white mentality, namely between the left and the right. So it's like, okay, you're either with us or you're against us. You're my friend, my ally, or you're my enemy. And this kind of toxic mentality leads to this kind of finger-pointing behavior when it comes to different kind of problems in society, like the economy, crime, employment-related issues, right? So both sides are just finger pointing. They're just blaming each other. And another factor to consider is just geopolitical conflict. So we already have this kind of trade war between China and the US. And the US keeps threatening to impose like tariffs on China. They keep changing it. And then they keep imposing it, removing it, imposing it. And if China wants, it could retaliate by, reducing its agricultural imports or something else, right? And it's not just trade wars. That's something, very detrimental for our mental health. But another thing that's causing us to have great anxiety is military conflicts as well. So there's like this still ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. It hasn't ceased yet. And there's another one going on between Israel and the US against Iran. And there's also one with Israel and Lebanon, I believe. And these are just some of the wars. I haven't covered everything. These are just some prominent examples. And there's ongoing fear that, these wars, they could lead to some sort of energy crisis, especially this recent one between Israel, US, and Iran. So, if this energy crisis becomes worse, well, most nations, if not all nations, depend on oil to sustain themselves. So this is going to affect transportation. It's going to affect factories, production, import, exports, a lot of things. And in turn, obviously, the economy takes a hit too. Now, another one, you may or may not be thinking about this, but I'd say half of people do discuss this every now and then, and that's environmental degradation or environmental decline, destruction. So unlike the anxiety that's stemming from, economic and tech-related risks, this one is more of like a long-term anxiety. So maybe it's not severely impacting us right now, but it could in the near future. Now, when it comes to experts who work in the field of the environment, who know a lot about it, their immediate focus right now, their immediate concern is related to like how extreme climate, extreme weather, so think climate change, right? Global warming, these kinds of issues, how does it impact food security? Because they're worried there could be a food shortage in the near future. And closely related to this topic is water availability, water scarcity. Nowadays we see like there are countries out there that can't produce their own water. And they depend on other nations to export water or supply them with it. And a lot of people, unfortunately, are wasting water. We see people that are taking showers for 30 minutes, an hour, which is ridiculous, but it does happen. And so that's just some food for thought, something to think about. I personally think if we address most of these other issues, most most of them, many of them are related to the economy. I think we can then take care of the environmental related matters naturally. But if we don't take care of these other issues, then the environment's gonna take an awful beating, of course. Now, I just want to wrap this up by saying that all these major factors that lead to anxiety in 2026 also instill this feeling of uncertainty in us about the future. Why is that? This is because we're experiencing a bunch of rapid changes that are taking form in the economy, politics. So think about all these crazy decisions Donald Trump has made, and other politicians as well, not just him. And tech, right? These changes with AI, it's just hitting us really fast, hard and fast. And another reason why we're uncertain about this is because there's this kind of like lack of control we have over the long-term outcomes, the results of these ongoing developments. So this kind of creates this learned helplessness kind of effect in us. And this makes us in turn feel more and more anxious and stressed out. And not to mention, like this constant exposure, this 24/7 hour access of what's going on in the news and global events, current affairs, is driving us crazy because, like, 95% of it, 99% of it usually is just negativity. So there's nothing we can really do about it. We just absorb this information and it frustrates us. It drives us crazy. It drives us nuts. So, yeah, I just want to leave you with that takeaway point. Most people feel financially squeezed. They're uncertain about the future, and we're just overwhelmed by this constant change that's going on. So try to take care of yourself, and in the future, we could maybe discuss some ways we can try to conquer this anxiety and deal with it better so that it doesn't have a severe impact on our lives. See you in the next one.